And then there was one. You might remember, Norlander, you might remember, you were here right before the start of the season. I was just sitting here with you, and you started the conversation. I didn't know we were talking about this. You started a conversation about how it might be more difficult than ever this season to try to predict who would be college basketball's last undefeated team. I objected to the premise. I didn't think it would be that difficult. And then I made a prediction. Hey, rather than hear me retell the story, let's just watch the original version. Let's enjoy it together. Let's take a trip down memory lane.
Okay. 6. All right, last undefeated team. Oh, buddy, I went and looked at the schedules of every team ranked in the preseason AP Top 25. This feels harder to forecast than ever before.
Nope, I've got it.
Okay, give me because I got 2 candidates, and trust me, they are quasi off the board. But give me your team and what date it's going to lose. Last unbeaten in the entire country.
I did not remember who I said for this last season.
It was Houston, and you made it to 9-0. Again, I picked TCU. They did not get to Game 4.
I'm going to Houston again.
Put your ones up. Put your ones up like you're a tribal chief.
Okay. I assume that's a professional wrestler, by the way.
That's the professional wrestler.
That's the professional wrestler.
That's the universal champion for more than 1,000 days.
Okay.
Dead leg.
Yeah, no shot. I know who that is.
That's your tribal chief.
Okay, we have just set a podcast record. First of all, you know what? Shouts to you. Did a little back end production. You pulled a me. You dropped something I didn't know was coming here, which is great, which I love to see. However, that is a record, by the way. For Parrish going with a look at me, Louie, less than 90 seconds into a show. Congratulations. You were right.
Buddy, when you started this whole thing, and by you, I mean me, by talking about Florida Atlantic's top 5 team in the country, you got to celebrate what you can celebrate.
That's true. We will get to your FAU prediction.
We might not.
Show, I
might be done talking about FAU.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. It cuts both ways on this one. However, congratulations on that because, of course, as many people realized here by Sunday night, we lost Ole Miss, which was no shock whatsoever. Ole Miss got absolutely destroyed by Tennessee, and then James Madison got bumped from the ranks of the unbeatens over the weekend as well. Houston was the only one left without a scratch.
I see somebody in the chat saying GP looks healthy and energetic now. I am feeling much better than I felt last Friday. Right below me, my wife is in bed with COVID. It's rough over here, man.
Gosh. So admittedly, I did not watch or listen to the show. Was it a struggle bus situation on Friday's show?
It was rough. I was having trouble getting through it. There was a time on Thursday night where I was like, I feel so bad. I don't know if I can do this. And then I was like, I'm just going to have to do it. But the weekend was rough. I felt really bad Friday, really bad Saturday. I'm feeling much better today. But as soon as I got home, actually, like when I landed, as I'm walking from my gate to baggage claim, I get a text from my wife. It's a positive COVID test. So we're struggling over here. But you know who's not struggling? Your Houston Cougars.
Yes.
COVID can't get them. 14-0 with 4 quadrant 1 wins. They are the last undefeated team in the country. In that clip we showed, you did ask me for the last undefeated team and the date they would finally lose. I did say that later in the clip. I just didn't want to run 5 minutes of old show. As much as I would have enjoyed it, I was scared nobody else would. But I did predict that Houston would be 14-0 at this point, 15-0 with a win at Iowa State, and then 15-1 after a game at TCU. I had their first loss coming this upcoming weekend at TCU. So now I don't know whether to root for it or not.
I mean, that's up to you. But at this point, you've gotten it past the finish line, and we have an undefeated team still heading into the second weekend of the month. That's a good thing. Reminder, Houston has ranked number 1 in multiple advanced metrics of the mainstream variety for a month, and in some cases a month plus at this point. So from a predictive standpoint, this is not a surprise. Nonetheless, congratulations again to Kelvin Sampson. They've only played one Big 12.
Let's keep the congratulations headed my way.
I'm going to actually congratulate the coach and players responsible.
No.
Okay.
No.
Yes.
That seems unfair. I don't feel like I'm getting enough credit for this.
I gave you credit off the top. You don't listen. Okay, this is not a Chris Holtmann situation, and we're not veering toward Chris Holtmann territory. It's just not going to happen there. I'm going to point out the fact that Houston right now has won 14 games in a row, 1-0 in the Big 12. Although it did get a Let's be honest here. It was West Virginia at home, and it's not a good team. So that's the opener. Now it's got to play its next two on the road. We'll see if it can get the job done there. But by virtue of getting to this point on the calendar without a scratch and having defeated the likes of Utah, Dayton, both those teams could very well play themselves into the NCAA tournament. We'll see. Have a road win at Xavier, which is not nothing by any means. And they also have win over Texas A&M. I will get to the Aggies before we get out of this episode here. It is a decent schedule. It is not, in my opinion, one of the 10 best schedules to this point in the country by any means from a high major standpoint, but whatever, man. You get to January 8th and you still haven't lost a game. Big time credit there. And it sets the table for what will be one of the 3 to 5 biggest storylines in that league this season, which is Houston's been awesome the past half decade. Now, as it makes the transition officially into the Big 12, will it find itself in the next 2 months where it has been, every year as of late, and that is at the top of the league ledger? Obviously, it's a big step up, but so far, so good.
You're very kind to Houston's schedule because not only is it not one of the top 10, according to the net, it's not one of the top 172.
I was going high major, so I'm not sure where it stands. That would be obviously be the entire sport there. So I don't think it's an awful schedule. I think,
but that's the immediate pushback. And honestly, like, we're goofing around. I don't have much else to say about Houston because it was just another big blowout win over a bad team. There's more important things that happened this weekend. But the one thing I will say is that when I tweet this Saturday night, the much of the pushback, to the extent there's any pushback, the pushback is like, I literally read this. Somebody saying my high school team could have gone undefeated against that schedule, or anybody could go, any good team, not great, any good team could go undefeated against that schedule. And that is wildly misguided. I mean, again, it's not the toughest schedule in the country. It's not one of the top 172 according to the net, but it is a 14-0 record featuring 4 quadrant 1 wins. Those quad 1 wins, you went through them. Dayton on a neutral, Utah on a neutral, Xavier on the road, Texas A&M on a neutral. Dayton, Utah, Texas A&M are all top 40 in the net, top 35 at KenPom. So I'm sorry, none of them currently have a number next to their name in the AP poll, but those are top 35, top 40 teams. The idea that Houston's played nobody, it isn't true, even if the schedule strength isn't great. The idea that anybody could go, not only do I roll my eyes at the idea anybody, because that's obviously not true, anybody could go undefeated against the schedule. I would make the other argument to the other extreme. Who else could have gone undefeated against the schedule?
The list would be short, to be honest, especially in the context of this particular season where let's, I guess, wait another few more weeks, GP, before we really arrive there. But we're at a moment here where it's seeming like there's a lot of good teams at the top. But I don't know if we have a team. I think there could be an elite team that emerges, but at this point, a lot of teams have either stepped in it or showed that they have weaknesses, and those have been exploited. Not just like on a random one-off night. That's really Purdue at this point. There's even other high-level teams where they've been picked off. So to answer your question, I'm sure there might be 3 or 5 that could, and you could probably pull up the data and scrape the data and say, actually, when you look at this team versus this schedule, the probability is pretty decent. But I probably trust Houston more than any other team because, frankly, it's been doing this against this level of opponent for so long that it's exceeded expectations in terms of how good it is, no matter who it's playing. To be honest.
How about this? If you took the top 10 teams in the country right now and allowed them, like just in this hypothetical world, to go play Houston's first 14 games, I would bet against every one of them going 14-0.
That's a good call.
And you know what? Purdue might burn me. UConn might burn me. But I'd win money. I'd win money by betting against all 10. And so I ran through it just sort of to sort of crystallize the point. I'll be quick with it. Number 1 team in the country is Purdue. They got a loss to Northwestern. Northwestern 67th at KenPom. Northwestern also lost to Chicago State. Houston has 4 wins over teams ranked higher than the team that beat the team that is ranked number 1 and favored to win the national title right now. That suggests even Purdue would have a hard time being undefeated against Houston's schedule. Number 2, Kansas lost by 14 to a Marquette team that is now 2-2 in the Big East. You sure they'd be undefeated against this schedule? Number 4, UConn lost to a Seton Hall team that's 66th at KenPom. That's lower than 4 teams that Houston has beaten. Number 5, Tennessee. This is where it gets interesting. Tennessee, no bad losses.
Yeah.
You could actually point to Tennessee and make the argument if you wanted to that the Vols would have or could have gone undefeated against this schedule because their only losses are Purdue, Kansas on neutrals at North Carolina. They got wins over Wisconsin, Illinois, Ole Miss, NC State. So if Vol fan, I'll give Vol fans a pass. If they want to say we'd be undefeated against the Houston schedule, I'll at least listen to that. But then we get the number 6 Kentucky. You lost to Wilmington. Be quiet. Number 7 Marquette.
At home.
You've lost to 2 sub-40 KenPom teams. Quiet down. The only team we know that would go undefeated against Houston's first 14 games is Houston. Again, I'll let Tennessee fans make the claim if they want. Everybody else, you need to STFU.